Hey there, boys and girls. Now that you've watched your video and she kind of showed you the rules of dividing by 1 and dividing by 0, I want you to take out your little template here and we are going to make a foldable to help us remember those rules. So have this out, and the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to fold it hot dog style or taco style, whichever way you want to, but you're going to do it right on that black line there, and you're going to fold a crease, the black solid line, so it looks like this. Now make sure your dotted lines are pointing face out. I don't want you to fold it this way and have two blank white sides. I don't want that. I want you to be able to see those dotted lines going down. Okay, so fold down like this. Now what you're going to do is you're going to open it up a little bit so it kind of looks like a tent. You could set it down and it would stand up. And you can hold it from the back solid side, because what you're going to do is you're going to take your scissors and you are going to cut up on the dotted line, but make sure you only have one side of the paper, just like this. And you're going to cut until you get to that solid line. So it'll look just like this, so that way you're making like little flaps. So just like that. Now I want you to do that all the way across, so on this line and this line. So go ahead and pause the video if you want to, and you can do that on your own, and then you can press play when you are ready to go. So I'm just going to cut this last one here, and then I'm going to get started. So if you need more time, like I said, pause the video. Okay, so you'll end up with something that looks a little something like this, where you're able to move up the flaps up and down like this. Okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to go over the 4 rules that she discussed with you in that video. Okay? So obviously I'm going to write up like this so that way you guys can see, but you can obviously write down on your desks. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to go over rule number 1, and if I could get my marker open, that would work great. So what we're going to do is on one of the flaps, I'm going to start over here. I'm going to write rule, R-U-L-E, number 1. Rule number 1. Go ahead and write that down on yours as well. Rule number 1. And the first rule that we are going to talk about is when you divide any number except 0 by itself. So when I divide, so I'm just going to say you divide, D-I-V-I-D-E, you divide well, let's just go ahead and use the number symbol. So down, down, across, across. You divide a number and then except 0. Except 0. I put those in parentheses. When you divide any number, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 345, anything but 0, by itself. By itself. So this is the rule that we are talking about here. So let's go ahead and put an example of this down here. So that means, let's start with 6. Let's do 6. That means if I do 6 divided by 6, we want to know what our answer will then be. If I had 6 divided by 6, 4 divided by 4, 100 divided by 100, what is the answer going to be? Well, let's go ahead and think this through. What I want us to do here again is write 6 divided by 6 again. 6 divided by 6. So if we were going to do this out with a model, we would know that we have 6 objects, and we're going to divide that into 6 equal groups. So let's draw our 6 equal groups. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And like I said, we have 6 objects to fair share into these groups. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So my quotient, or my answer, is how many are inside the groups. How many do you see inside there? 1. Very good. So our quotient is 1. So in answer to the rule, if you divide any number except for 0 by itself, the quotient is always going to be 1. So there's the answer to our rule. The answer is always 1. If it was 345 divided by 345, the answer would be 1. Very good. So let's go ahead and move on to rule number 2. So here we're going to write rule 2, R-U-L-E, number 2. Rule number 2. And now we're going to talk about when you divide any number by 1. So we can write any number by 1. So if you divide a number by 1, so let's stick with 6. What if we did 6 divided by 1? We want to know what the answer will be to this. So underneath our flap, let's figure it out. Okay, so we're doing 6 divided by 1, so write that down again. 6 divided by 1. So let's think about what our model would be. I've got 6 objects, but I only have one group. So draw that one group. Now put your objects in it. We got 6 cookies. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So if you only have one group, your objects are just going to go into that one group. If I had 6 cookies but only one plate, I'm going to put all the cookies on that one plate. So the answer is 6. The answer is always itself. So it's the same number as your dividend. So the answer is always the dividend. Or we can say the answer is always itself. Always itself. So we know that 6 divided by 1 equals 6. See how the dividend is the same as the quotient? There we go. So rule number 1, if you divide a number except for 0 by itself, the answer is always 1. If you divide any number by 1, then the answer is always itself. Very good. So those are your rules of dividing by 1. But now, let's get into a trickier one. Now we're going to talk about 0. So we're going to write rule number 3, R-U-L-E, number 3. And these are going to deal more with 0. So let's talk about when you divide 0 by any number, except for 0. So divide 0, so we can write divide 0, D-I-V-I-D-E, divide 0 by any number, and then once again there's that except 0 part. Except 0. So 0 does not work here. We can't use our zeros. So what this looks like here is if you do 0 divided by 6. Okay? So that's what this looks like. Divide 0 by any number. So it could be 0 divided by 6, 0 divided by 4, 0 divided by 10, 0 divided by 535. 0 divided by something, except 0. You can't have 2 zeros here, okay? No 2 zeros. It can't be 0 divided by 0. 0 divided by 1,435,000, whatever it is. So if you have a number sentence that looks like this, what is our answer going to be? Let's go ahead and go under our flap and figure it out. If I do 0 divided by 6 again, what does that mean exactly? Means we have 0 objects, maybe 0 cookies, and we are trying to divide that into 6 equal groups. Okay, so let's draw out our groups. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. How many objects do I have to put on those plates? None. So we're not going to be putting any on those plates, so what's your answer? 0. Very good. Your answer is always going to be 0. So we can write 0 divided by 6 equals 0. So if you have the 0 coming first in your number sentence, your answer is always 0. Okay? So let's go on to our 4th rule here. At the top, write rule number 4. Okay? So what this rule here is going to be is when you have got something like this, 6 divided by 0. So that means when you are taking any number and trying to divide it by 0. So any number divided by 0. So if you have it where you have 54 divided by 0 or 65 or 1,432,000 divided by 0, we need to try and figure out what our answer is going to be. So lift up your flap. So let's write that down again. If I have 6 divided by 0, what is our answer going to be? If I have 6 cookies, or 6 M&Ms like she used in the video, and I'm trying to divide that, wait a second, I don't have any groups. I don't have any groups to put it in. So this doesn't make sense. If you have 0 in your second digit here, or as your divisor, there is no answer. So really big, I want you to write no answer. We can't do it because there are no groups to put it in. So that does not work. You cannot divide by 0, or there is no answer. Let's go over all 4 of our rules again, just to make sure we understand. Rule number 1. When you divide a number, except for 0, by itself, the answer is what? 1. Very good. If you have any number divided by 1, what's the answer? Good. It's always itself. If you divide 0 by any number except 0, so if I have 0 divided by 6, what is our answer? 0. And if we have any number divided by 0, 6 divided by 0, what would that be? Very good. There is no answer. Make sure your name is on this, please, right now. And I want you to hold on to this because you're going to want to use this when you're doing your problem sets tomorrow. See you later.